Designing Identity and Access Management, or IAM. We have covered design for governance in the previous couple of videos, and we jumped to the next module. So I have write down a lot of things proactively to save time. So let's start with design for identity and access management. Well, the very first thing is we all know we are talking Azure and we're talking identity and access management. It's all about Azure AD and various features, amazing premium features that Azure AD provides. But as I've mentioned a couple of times, this is a hardcore designing videos. We are not getting into the depth, like how to enable the PIM, how to enable the CA, conditional access, and things like that. But rather we'll be focusing on designing part of identity. So let's start with the basic guidelines for IAM solution, okay? So what is the basic guidelines for IAM solutions? I write down these four here. These four. So the very first is centralized IAM, okay? Centralized IAM. What it mean? It would always be prudent to manage all your identities and access to all your applications in a centralized location, whether they are in the cloud or on premises, or maybe it's a hybrid environment. And this centralized location, unified identity management will improve the visibility and control, and of course, ease of management, because you have to do it from one location, right? So this is the guiding principle for creation of or designing an IAM solution for any customer. Another one is seamless user experience. Well, that's the ultimate motive of anything, right? All your users should have a wonderful experience of using any application, using anything, whatever it is in your life, right? If you want to use a laptop, it should be a seamless experience, an amazing experience. You want to play cricket, amazing experience. You want to play video games, you should have that wonderful experience, right? So same principle applies here as well. When users are going to users must have this seamless, wonderful experience whenever you're designing the identity. It should not like you apply so many controls, your users are not able to perform well, or they're wasting a lot of time. They're not that productive because they have to go through so many chains to get through the access. So provide an easy, fast sign-in experience to keep your users productive. Reduce time in managing passwords and increase end user productivity in the end. That's what the seamless user experience means. So you should have, I think these two principles are clear, our guidelines are clear. Now, security always comes everywhere. We want everything secure, right? So the third one is secure adaptive access. Well, protect access to resources and data using strong authentication that we always apply, we always suggest and recommend. And risk-based adaptive access policies is needed without compromising user experience that we talked about in the second guidelines. We should have those things in place, those policies. And then simplified identity governance. Well, control access to apps and data for all users and admins sometimes may create a lot of issues if it is not well planned, if it is not well designed, right? Automated identity governance to ensure only authorized users have access will give you simplified identity governance. Well, even this principle is more of a generalized. We do not want to complicate things. We want ease of management. We want visibility. We want simplified way of things so that we would have or we can perform what we're supposed to perform. So simplified identity governance. These are the basic principles. These are the basic principles that we should keep in mind while creating any or while designing IAM solution for any customer, right? So in a nutshell, well, these are the guidelines for IAM solutions that we understand, more of a generalized principle that we should keep in mind. However, if we think broadly, there are at a high level 3 basic IAM solutions, right? And what are those 3 basic IAM solutions? Well, we have cloud or hybrid. I hope you get this one. Provide identity and access management for employees who are on premises and they are innovating in cloud. So now they have hybrid environment as well. Or it could be a absolutely new branch or new company which is in cloud. So it could be totally cloud identities. It could be hybrid environments or hybrid identities. So accordingly, you have to plan the solution. Second one could be external business partners. You have to plan the identity solution for external business partners, the vendors who are trying to help your users, or they're there to help in various means, maybe applications, maybe something else. So external business partners. Similarly, we do need solution for our users who are actually the customer for our applications. So external business partners, let's put it this way, these are someone who is helping us to create the application, and customers are someone who is actually accessing our application. So in nutshell, we have these 3 basic IAM solutions, right? And I'm pretty sure you have a pretty good idea where I'm going with all this. So let's see, start one by one. For cloud or hybrid environment, we have Azure AD. We should talk about Azure AD because, all AD Connect and those things will help us to sync the identities and passwords. So let's start design for Azure Active Directory. Okay. All right. So let me circle it out right here. Design for Azure AD. So we all know what Azure AD is. Azure AD is the Azure solution for IAM. It is a multi-tenant, right? We all know that because whosoever go and apply for the Azure, they get their own tenant. So it is a multi-tenant service. And it combines core directory services, application access management, and identity protection into a single solution. And of course, we can use this, as I was saying, AD Connect for cloud or hybrid identities. So let's see cloud identity solution first. Okay, so we can use Azure AD because whenever you apply for Azure, you get Azure AD by default, even with the Office 365. So you can use Azure AD as a cloud-only solution for all your employees' user accounts. Azure AD provides not only identity management, but protection for those accounts as well. As I was talking about RBAC in the design for governance, that's one of its feature. Conditional access reviews that we will cover in upcoming videos. So Azure AD has a lot of wide range of features for security purpose that we can utilize. Now, let's suppose this is a hybrid environment. Well, we can still use Azure AD even in the hybrid environment because Azure AD extends on-premises Active Directory to the cloud with Azure AD Connect or Azure AD Connect Cloud Sync, which is the new. You can bring on-premises identities into Azure AD. Once the on-prem accounts are in Azure AD, they will get the benefits of easy management and identity protection, and a lot of Azure AD features would be applicable for those. All right. Now we have talked about IAM solution. We talked about environment. Now let's see what are the design considerations. What are the design considerations? All right, so let me mark this out. These things been done. I'm going to talk about these things. Again, these are the things that we need to keep in mind before designing the identity solution. The very first thing is unified management or experience that we already covered here. Centralized IAM, that's what it is. That is what we are talking here again. However, in a hybrid identity scenario, we recommend that you integrate your on-prem and cloud directories. Integration enables your IT team to manage accounts from one location whenever an account is created. Integration also helps your users to be more productive by providing a common identity for access both cloud and on-prem resources, right? They need not to go ahead and write down somewhere or keep in mind all different identities and password. You're right, we're talking SSO here. So centralized identity management gives an edge for your administrators and also to your users. Security is one of the biggest reasons for this. Now, this is unified management. Now, consistency and a single authoritative source will increase clarity and reduce security risks from human errors and configuration complexity. That's why designate a single Azure AD directory as the authoritative source for corporate and organizational accounts. Single instance of Azure AD. Well, you can create multiple instances, but it is not fall under the best practices. You can create a single and create multiple groups and apply there, right? However, you can create multiple Azure AD instances. Nobody's stopping you to do that, but that's not the best practice. Now, if it is a hybrid environment, of course, you are going to sync, as we have talked about, your identities and passwords to the cloud with the help of AD Connect. But it is recommended, do not sync the privileged accounts. This configuration mitigates the risk of adversaries pivoting from cloud to on-premises assets, which could create a major incident. So it's your choice at the end. Maybe you're planning to move to the cloud completely. It is just a hybrid environment for a while, or maybe you're just trying to check few things or doing a migration for the huge environment. Then you can think that way. However, it is recommended to keep your privileged accounts on-prem. And you can use the Azure AD Connect filters to filter those out. Now the next is password hash. Well, password hash sync is a feature used to sync user password hashes or hash of a hash from on-prem AD instance to a cloud-based Azure AD instance. This sync helps to protect against leaked credentials being replayed from previous sign-ins. There are so many other features you can leverage if you have hybrid identities when you sync the passwords. That's why it is there in the consideration. You need to think about it. If you do, you can have wonderful features, premium features of Azure AD applicable. And the last one is single sign-on. We all know the beauty of SSO. It reduces the need for multiple passwords. Multiple passwords increases the likelihood of users using passwords or using weak passwords, writing it down somewhere and leaving it like that. With SSO, users provide their primary work or school account for their domain joined devices and company resources. The application access can be automatically provisioned or deprovisioned based on their organization group membership and their status as an employee. So these are the things we should keep in mind while designing for cloud or hybrid environment. We need to think about solutions holistically by keeping these principles or these guidelines or best practices that we talked about in mind. Okay. Now, the second one is Azure AD B2B that I said in our first section. Partner, external business partners, right? This one right here. So to accomplish this complex task, Azure AD gives you a tool, which is Azure AD B2B for the collaboration, and you need, and it is very easy and you need not to do anything. Yes, no need to pay, no need to build anything. It is there for you to use. All right, so let's see what all things we have when we say what all things we need to keep in mind. What is Azure AD, B2B, and all. So we all know that every organization needs to work with external users to help their developers, to help the various other means. And Azure AD B2B, which stands for business to business, is a feature of Azure AD that enables you to securely collaborate with external partners. And in a nutshell, what happens, your partner users are invited as a guest user, and you can see even in the your directory, it will symbolize as guest user, and you remain in control of what they have access to and for how long, right? So with Azure AD B2B, the partner uses their own identity management solution, and Azure AD is not required. You don't need to manage external accounts or passwords. You don't need to sync accounts or manage account life cycles. Guest users sign in to your app and services with their own work, school, or social identities. Getting my point? So that's why I was saying you need not to do anything. It is all for you to use it. You are not managing anything for your external partner. It's their identities that will be managed by them. Okay, with Azure AD B2B, external users can use their identities to collaborate. As I said, their identities are managed by themselves or by another external identity provider on their behalf, not by you. All right, so let's see a couple of things. As we know what AD B2B is and who is managing what. Now we need to go through. We need to check few best practices or considerations. Okay. So the very first is conditional access policies to deny or allow access. Okay, so we all know what CA is, conditional access policies, and we know how to use it. We talked about it many times. So you can make it mandatory for users to be on a specific device platform, such as Android or Windows, and apply the access. Like only then they can access. You can block users if they don't meet the required location criteria, maybe a browser that you don't want them to use. So there is a condition applied. If they met the condition, you can give them access, or if they don't match the condition, you can deny the access. So always use conditional access policies to intelligently grant or deny access for your users, especially B2B. MFA, we all know what MFA is. It's multi-factor authentication, and you can also use conditional access policies to, along with MFA, if certain condition met, rather than denying the access, you can apply dual factor authentication or MFA before they can access the application. You should think of identity provider integration. Now, let me tell you what it is. Well, Azure AD supports external identity providers like Facebook, Twitter, Microsoft accounts, Google, or enterprise identity providers. You can set up federation with identity providers so your external users can sign in with their existing social or enterprise account instead of creating a new account just for your application, right? And we should always give some self-service sign up. This is for ease of management, and of course, with a self-service sign up user flow, you can create a sign up experience for external users who want to access your application, or maybe they do not have any external identities. They want to sign up and create it, so you can apply that user flow. As a part of the sign up flow, you can provide options for different social or enterprise identity providers as well, and collect information about the user. You can also customize the onboarding experience for your guest users. Who are your guest users? Your B2B users. We're calling them guest user, and it represent as a guest user even in your Azure AD. So yeah, these things we need to keep in mind. And of course, it's a good idea to delegate guest user access to application owners. Application owners are in the best position to decide who should be given access to a particular application. This delegation help in ease of management and administration, and of course, security, right? Less chances of forgetting things with access given already. So let's go and jump quickly because it's getting too much. Azure AD B2C. We would like to keep the video short so that you can easily go through the video without losing the concentration. So B2C. Okay, what is B2C? Well, the customer sign up. If you remember, we talked about customer sign up. We given that reference. So B2C is business to consumers. Okay, this is for your customer. So whatever you have prepared, your application or anything, with the help of your own IT people, your own developers, or with the help of your guest users, now you're putting it out there for people to access, your customers. Now your customers can access that with the help of third-party providers like Facebook, Microsoft account, Twitter, and things like that, LinkedIn account maybe, or they can sign up. Now, when they get the access where they put up, they do not put up in your directory. There is a new directory for them, that is business to customer, B2C directory. B2B is staying in your directory, but B2C has their own directory. Okay. So let's see. Of course, Azure AD, because we are talking about a different directory. So of course, Azure AD B2C requires an Azure AD tenant, a separate tenant. This tenant isn't the same as your organizations or where your IT, where your people are residing. You use an Azure AD tenant to represent an organization, and your Azure AD B2C tenant represent the identities that are used for customer application. Okay, so I hope this gives you an idea what I meant by this for customers, right? And a different, you need to create an business to customer AD tenant and hook that up with your application, so that for the management of identities, you have a different tenant, because these are your customer. It could be thousands, millions, and billions, zillions. And your users are staying in your own .on-microsoft.com directory. All right, let's think about or talk about some design consideration here as well. The very first thing is a user journey is the path that you want people to take in your application to achieve their goal. For example, a user might want to make a new account or update their profile. We're talking about the customer who is accessing your application, B2C user, okay? So you have user flows which will help you to guide them. You can reuse the same user flow across different applications as well. And reusing user flows creates a consistent user journey across all your applications. Okay, so we're calling policies to these flows. Okay. Now, social identities. I'm pretty sure you have a pretty good idea what I meant by this. Well, different social identities like Facebook, Amazon, LinkedIn could be used to sign up the user or sign in the user. There's a seamless integration with the Azure AD B2C for these third-party identities. You just need to select those, nothing else. Now, you can customize the pages in your user flow, what your customer can see, the user interface. Write your own HTML or CSS or use built-in templates. You can find a lot of built-in templates as well and utilize them to customize the pages for user flow. So yeah, you can do that. Now the Azure AD B2C provides a directory that can hold almost 100 custom attributes per user. However, you can also integrate with external systems. What I mean by that? Well, let's see. Your Azure AD B2C, use Azure AD B2C for authentication, but delegate to an external customer relationship management or CRM or customer loyalty database as the source of truth for customer data. So you can have that integration, ease of integration with Azure AD B2C. And we can use Azure AD B2C to facilitate identity verification and proving by collecting user data, then passing it to third-party systems to perform validation, trust scoring, and approval for user account creations. So yeah, these are the things we need to keep in mind. This is all about Azure AD B2C. Now, I hope there is no difference there. The difference between B2B and B2C and Azure AD. These things you need to keep in mind. So this is all about designing identity access management, and with the help of Azure AD. There's so many other features, wonderful features that we can talk about, and we have already talked about. But yeah, in upcoming video, we're going to talk about conditional access, access reviews, service principal, key vault, and privileged identity management, PID, identity protection. There's so many things. Azure AD is vast. It's a vast topic, but interesting and important too. Well, let's meet in another video. Till then, take care and goodbye.